They have tried nearly everything. They went to court, they protested on the streets, they formed alliances, they deployed propaganda. And yet, Bola Ahmed Tinubu is still standing. Every democracy has opposition. Every president has critics. But not every leader survives scandals, court battles, mass protests, economic collapse, and public outrage all at once. Nigeria has witnessed hunger, inflation, deaths during protests, institutional crises, and political fragmentation under Tinubu's presidency, yet no mechanism has successfully removed him. This raises a question many Nigerians whisper but rarely confront directly. Why, after all this, has Tinubu never truly been removed from power? Not as Lagos governor, not as party kingmaker, not as president. This is not a defense of Tinubu, nor is it an attack based on party lines. It is an attempt to understand a political system so carefully constructed that removal becomes almost impossible. Reason for us to one, Tinubu doesn't play politics, he builds structures. Most politicians focus on popularity, rhetoric, and election cycles. Tinubu focuses on structures. While others campaign, he cultivates loyalty. While others debate ideology, he controls machinery. Party executives, delegates, governors, lawmakers, these are the real levers of power. By the time elections arrive, the outcomes are often already structurally determined. Tinubu rarely stands alone. He is surrounded by a dense network of beneficiaries whose political survival is tied to his own. This is the first uncomfortable truth. You cannot easily remove a man who is never standing by himself, but structures alone do not explain his durability. To understand why attempts at removal keep failing, we must revisit how those attempts began, starting with the courts. Reason number 2. He enters every battle prepared for loss. This is where most opponents miscalculate. Tinubu does not fight to win headlines. He fights to outlast storms, court cases, he plans for delays, public outrage, he waits it out, international criticism, he lets time dilute it. His opponents demand instant collapse, he plans for endurance, and in Nigerian politics, time is a weapon. But endurance only works if people around you don't abandon ship, so why don't they? He masters the art of pulling loyalty. Reason, number 3, the judiciary as a dead end. February 25, 2023, Election Day. Tinubu wins the presidency with 37% of the vote. Atiku Abubakar secures 29%, Peter Obi 25%. Numerically, 63% of voters chose someone else, yet Tinubu is declared president. The opposition responds the Nigerian way. They go to court. Both Atiku and Obi challenge the results, alleging electoral malpractice, failure of electronic transmission by INEC, constitutional violations, and even questions about Tinubu's eligibility and credentials. The evidence presented was extensive. INEC had promised electronic transmission of results, but reverted to manual processes amid widespread technological failures, creating room, according to petitioners, for manipulation. There were also claims about forged certificates, double nomination of the vice president, and failure to secure the constitutionally required 25% of votes in the Federal Capital Territory. On September 6, 2023, after 6 hours of judgment, the ruling, the Presidential Election Tribunal dismissed all claims as unmeritorious. The opposition appealed. At the Supreme Court, new evidence allegedly emerged regarding academic credentials. The court refused to consider it, ruling that it was not introduced within constitutionally allowed timeframes. October 26, 2023. The final judgment, 7 justices, appeal dismissed. And here is the devastating reality. Since Nigeria returned to democracy in 1999, not a single presidential election has been overturned by the courts, not one. This suggests that the judiciary is not structured as a tool for removing presidents, but for legitimizing outcomes already declared. Removal through the courts, practically speaking, does not exist. But legal control alone is not enough. Real power is often tested outside courtrooms, on the streets. Reason number 4, the crushing of protest. August 1st, 2024. Nigeria is in the grip of its worst economic crisis in a generation. Food insecurity rises from 66 million people in early 2023 to 100 million by early 2024. Food prices spike by up to 400%. Fuel prices increase by over 500%. Electricity tariffs rise by 300%. People are hungry, angry, desperate. The treats and bad governance protests erupt across the country. They begin peacefully, with placards demanding dignity and survival. The response is brutal. On the first day alone, security forces kill protesters in Borno, Niger, Kaduna, and Jigawa states. Amnesty International documents at least 24 deaths. Over 1,200 people are arrested nationwide. Among them are children. In November 2024, 72 minors are arraigned in Abuja on charges including treason. Images of malnourished children collapsing in court shock the nation. Tinubu breaks his silence on August 4th with a televised address. He expresses empathy but avoids accountability. He condemns violence, calls for dialogue, and urges calm without reversing policies or addressing the deaths. The protests continue for 10 days, but momentum fades, unity fractures. Nothing changes, no resignations, no accountability, no policy reversals. Why didn't the protests escalate like those in Kenya? Because Tinubu had already neutralized the next critical threat, the opposition itself. Reason number 5, the absorption of opposition. In Nigerian politics, opposition rarely disappears. It gets absorbed. In 2023, Tinubu faced a formidable challenge. Peter Obi commanded youth energy and grassroots enthusiasm. Atiku Abubakar possessed deep political networks and experience. Together, they represented a majority of voters. But by 2025, the resistance had thinned. Opposition governors began meeting Tinubu privately. Defectors returned to the ruling party. Once critical voices softened. Media narratives shifted toward praising bold reforms. Tinubu's strategy is not destruction, it is incorporation. He offers appointments, access, influence. Opponents become stakeholders. Critics become insiders. Over time, the infrastructure of resistance collapses from within. When organizers become advisors, who leads the protests? When opposition leaders join government, who mobilizes dissent? This co-optation is largely voluntary. In Nigeria, political survival depends less on principles than on proximity to power. Tinubu understands this better than most. Reason number 6, total institutional control. The final structural layer is institutional dominance. The judiciary is appointed and funded by the executive. Under Tinubu, judicial funding doubled, Supreme Court vacancies were filled, and judges' salaries increased significantly. Loyalty is incentivized. The legislature is controlled by the ruling party, Senate president, speaker, committee leadership, nearly all aligned. Impeachment motions die before they are born. Security agencies answer directly to presidential appointees. The police, the military, intelligence services, anti-corruption agencies. Protest suppression, investigations, and enforcement all flow downward from executive authority. INEC, the electoral body, is appointed and funded by the president. Every institution capable of checking presidential power is structurally dependent on the presidency. This is not a system of checks and balances. It is a system of reinforcement. Reason number 7, psychological warfare and the illusion of inevitability. The final and most powerful weapon is psychological. Repeated failures, court losses, crushed protests, absorbed opposition send a single message. Resistance is futile. People internalize it. Courts won't help. Protests won't work. Opposition leaders can't be trusted. There is no alternative. Once citizens believe change is impossible, they stop trying. This is how policies that once ended presidencies, like fuel subsidy removal, become normalized. Pain is reframed as necessary reform. Suffering becomes a civic duty. Tinubu is not necessarily more popular or more successful than his predecessors, but he has convinced Nigerians that the game itself cannot be won. The uncomfortable truth: Tinubu cannot be removed through the courts. They are structurally constrained. He cannot be removed through protests. They are violently suppressed. He cannot be removed through opposition. It has been absorbed. He cannot be removed through institutions. He appoints and controls them. And he cannot be removed by popular will, because people have been conditioned to believe removal is impossible. This is not merely political skill. It is total system capture. Tinubu did not invent this system. He simply understands it better than anyone else. Every failed challenge strengthens his legitimacy. Every dismissed case normalizes his rule. Every crushed protest reinforces dominance. Every defection expands his coalition. So, the real question is not, why can't anyone remove Tinubu? The real question is Nigeria's system designed to allow any president to be removed at all? And that is the question Nigerians must confront before inevitability replaces democracy entirely. If this video made you think differently about Nigerian politics, smash that subscribe button right now. Because next week, I'm dropping the most explosive video yet, the Tinubu 2027. Strategy. How he's planning to win without an election. We're going to expose the succession plan, the constitutional manipulations, and the infrastructure being built for permanent control. You do not want to miss it. Hit the notification bell so you're alerted the second it drops. Stay informed, stay critical, and never stop questioning power, because the moment you accept inevitability is the moment you lose democracy.